Hello and welcome to another episode of the Appelboom Bites podcast. Today is episode number 77 and it's going to be an amazing episode for sure. We're back finally after a short break. We had some issues with YouTube. We were hacked. We were spreading a lot of Bitcoin news and things like that. Apparently, I was not aware of it. It was not me. It was some kind of hacker. And yeah, it just happened. It was not something that's new on the market like the Appelboom coins or whatever. Actually, that would be pretty cool. But it was just a hack. But we are back now. I also had a short holiday with the kids and I had an amazing time. But we are back, and we're back with an amazing guest. But first, let me introduce our co-host for today, because I'm so happy that she still wants to be my co-host here on the Appelboom Bites podcast. Let's welcome Lori Tata. Lori, welcome back on the show. How are you?
Thank you, Joost. I am doing so well. I'm happy to be back after our break. Feels like,
Yeah,
I've been co-host for a while, but that's a great thing. I'm happy to be
yeah, I
here.
missed you.
Well, thank
All
you.
those weeks. Unbelievable. Yeah.
We
So,
missed
and
Appelboom. I'm sorry you went through so
yes,
much with the hack. That was terrifying when you
yeah.
told me.
Yeah, it was quite scary actually, because, well, as you know, YouTube deleted the whole account. Everything was gone, like all the videos that we made, all the content we created, all the effort we put into the content, it was all gone. And it was just like this. It was one flick, and it was really hard to get it back. But well, luckily it's now back in our hands. So I'm really grateful
Thank
for that.
goodness.
Yeah, it
Do you
was
back up
also a
any
good
of your
lesson.
videos? Because shortly after
Yeah.
your video, I went out and bought an external hard drive because I don't save my videos. Like once they're out there, I mean, I have some, but do you save some of
Mhm.
your big ones, like your
No, me
visits?
neither. Me neither.
Scary.
So it's quite scary. Of course, the media team, they have some backups, but still, it's like yeah, it's indeed an awful experience. That's correct.
Hi,
That's
Jamie.
that's the right word. All right, let me introduce our guest for today, because it's not a guest that you have seen on the flyer. He is from Wancher Pens, so that's for sure. It's not the CEO, but it is Jilliano. He is responsible for the Philippines and for a lot of video content things, social media things. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jilliano, but welcome on the show. You are like the second most important guy for Wancher. Am I correct?
No, I mean, I like to think that we're all equally important. But
Mhm.
at least in terms of right this moment, I'm the most important person from Wancher on this podcast at the moment.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Well, thank you for joining us. It's quite late for you right now. It's 4 o'clock for me in the afternoon. Lori, for you it's early in the morning,
10 a.m.
and 10 a.m.
Good
And
night.
Juliana, what time is it at your place?
It is exactly 12:05 a.m. over here.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. So, people, I hope that you really appreciate that Giuliano is here with us. And, if he falls asleep, just, we have to speak out a little bit louder and we have to wake him up. But I'm really happy that's here. Welcome, everybody that's joining the conversation in the YouTube comments. If you have a question for any of us, please let us know in the comment section and we will greatly, put it into the show and discuss it. Anything. So please go ahead. Would like to say hello to Wendy, of course,
Hi, Wendy.
and
Oops.
we have Anu here as well. Juicy Louise, hello everyone. So great to see everybody back. And well, of course, we also have a second guest. Like,
Sorry. He was
no, of
just,
course.
I think when he heard me say hello, he got excited. I think he thought somebody was here. So he was starting to fuss a little bit. Juliano,
Well, we
this
are
is
all here.
Lumpy.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
Lumpy.
That really,
Lumpy.
He won't
Lumpy
be
is
here
always
long. I'm so
I
sorry.
think you will outshine me as a guest.
Yeah, Lumpy is really hard to compete with. It's yeah, it is what it is. All right. Before we start the podcast, we always do the pen check first. Lori, would you like to start with your pen check?
The pen check.
Sure thing. I am so sad. I am ordering a Wancher pen today because I do not have one yet. I've been eyeing the matcha tea for a while, the matcha pen, and I'm excited about the Kickstarter that we're going to talk about. But today I brought my Platinum Shape of Heart. This is the first Shape of Heart that I ever received when my husband traveled to Japan in 2022. And he's actually going there this week again. So I have to make my wish list for him. But anyways, I love this Shape of Heart. I also have the Cafe Crema and the new one, or the latte. I just figured I would chat about this one today because the last of the series is out in the Bluebird. But I just think that the nib on the Platinums are really nice. This is a fine nib that I had a little tuning done to, and the Shape of Heart is special because what they do, for those of you who might not know, the little breather hole is punched out in a heart, and they take those pieces and they put them in with the Swarovski crystals in the cap, and it's just really meaningful because Jay got it for me in Japan, and it's a beautiful writer, and it has withstood the test of time over the past few years. I'm still reaching for it quite a bit. And it's really beautiful. And I wanted to have a Japan pen for today. So that is my pen check for today. And I'm excited for the Bluebird as well.
It's a very special pen check, especially because Jay brought it, of course. That's like the most important thing. But also, indeed, the Bluebird is like ending this series, which is quite sad. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, we'll make it special if there's not too many of them. And I think it is, they've done a really nice job with it. And yeah, this is the 3776 and beautiful. Yeah, I love it. So thank you. That's my check.
Super nice. It's super nice. Thank you. Thank you, Lori, for your pen check. Jilliano, what is your pen check for today?
Well, actually, this relates to one of the comments I just saw here. So one of the comments are Wancher the Ebonite pen people. Yeah, so the pen I brought today is actually one of our true Ebonite fountain pens. This is a true Ebonite matte black. As you can see, I kind of have a preference for the color black. But this is very special because it's actually kind of new. We changed the threading here, so now it has a new titanium thread. And I'm a big fan of that. I'm a sucker for titanium pens, watches. If it's in titanium, I'm a huge fan. And I have a regular Yowo #6 nib here. This one is a F size. So yeah, this is just my classic daily writer right now. Before this, I was using. Funny enough, I was using our Pochoco fountain pen because which is a relatively new release, but it was pretty good as well. But I keep coming back to true Ebonite, and so I'm glad I was able to get the.
We're gonna start talking about the Pochoco in a later point on the podcast.
So that will come back great. That's great.
It's a wonderful pen check. I truly appreciate the Ebonite pens that you make, and well. It's not that you're only making Ebonite pen, people, or that you're not only the Ebonite pen. That's not the only pen that you make, but it's one of them, and quite affordable as well. So that also makes it quite special because most of the time Ebonite pens are quite pricey, because of the material. But with Wancher pens, they're reasonable priced. Yes. All right. Let's have a look at my pen check before we go through all the questions, of course. I have a very special pen here, but Jilliano, maybe you can tell a little bit more about it because I think that you know more about a pen than I do. So I'm just going to show it here, and you can do the talking.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful. So what our great host has right now is the Rising Sun, not the Sunset, that's the Rising Sun Dragon. And it has a beautiful gold foil wrapping around it. And I can tell you this from personal experience. This was a very popular pen for us last year during Year of the Dragon, and it was actually very fun to market this last year.
Stunning.
Actually, if I remember correctly, I think we might be out of stock of that, sadly, at the moment. But it's
We
still
still
a
have
very
it.
yeah. Okay, then that's perfect.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a
But
very
it's
special
very
piece, and I really like the gold foil on it. So, you know, I'm a little bit, I don't know the English word for it. Wait, let me quickly check the English word for it.
He's hitting up Google Translate.
Magpie. Is that a bird that loves like
Magpie?
gold things? Magpie, yes, that's what I am. So I really like the shiny gold of this gold foil, and it's just really pretty with the gold, with the dragon on it. I don't know if the camera picks it up really nice,
It's absolutely
but
beautiful.
yeah, it's really nicely done. So will there be a snake for this year, Jilliano? Do you know that?
Well, I can tell you that we are planning some things for this year, but it'll be a bit different from this one. I can tell you that. But
You know what I love about that pen, just seeing it from here, is that sometimes I saw that some of the year of things were kind of in your face, and that's almost like a little bit abstract. It almost looks like unless I just don't have my glasses on, but no, it looks like the dragon is a little bit, he's kind of spread throughout the pen, and it kind of keeps you guessing a little bit. It's absolutely beautiful. I love that
That's
it's
really nice,
subtle
yeah.
but very striking, in my opinion. I love that. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. All right, so that was the pen check. Let's I see some people asking Lucky Pen here as well. What happened?
Where have you
Why you
been?
started podcast late after 3 months? Yeah, so quickly, we had this YouTube issue. I got hacked, or we got hacked. There was a lot of Bitcoin videos, live sessions, things like that on the channel. It was really frustrating. Eventually, YouTube got it off. It was not some kind of an Appelboom coin that was launching or something, but it was just a hacker that created this, and YouTube completely deleted the account, and it was really difficult to get it back. So that was why the little absence, but we're back. So that's about that. Jilliano, what we always do, we have a question from the previous guest for our new guest, and the previous guest was was Luke from Papa J Woodworks, and his question to you was, what do you like about being part of the pen community?
Ooh, that's a good question. But if I have to, narrow it down, because there are a lot of good reasons. I think I have a lot of different hobbies, but I think the fountain pen community is somewhat unique in the sense that people are so open to sharing knowledge. I can't tell you the number of times I've wanted to understand something, and then I would just search it on Reddit, for example, and then there's always someone who's more knowledgeable than me, more helpful, and they have the answer to my very obscure question, So I think there's no, as far as my experience goes, there's no gatekeeping in the
I'm going to
fountain
say
pen
that.
community.
I agree.
Yeah, people just share, people, or for example, they'll send me the YouTube video of a fountain pen reviewer and say, oh, this person actually said that this nib has a good feedback. This one, this video explains the difference between Western or German nibs versus Japanese nibs. So I think it's that would probably be my favorite part about being in this community.
It's funny, right, Lori? Because Luke more or less said like the same thing, right? So that we was really surprised how helpful everybody was to set him up with his custom pens.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I'm in the reseller community. Fountain pens is like my second hobby, or my day job, I guess, is thrifting and reselling, in my YouTube channel for that. And for a short time, I used to sell through Amazon. And talk about gatekeeping. Like, I had to pay money to join a course to get any information on how to become a seller on Amazon, and jump through a lot of hoops, and people don't want to share their source, and people don't want to share anything. And so this is a very different world from that. And I do agree. There's a lot of people who will really take the time and have a lot of patience with newbies, and I don't think most people are at all condescending if people are just getting started and they're super excited about a pen that somebody may have used 20 years ago and hasn't touched in a while. And, they kind of celebrate the hobby more than what level you're at or where you are in collecting. So yeah, Luke did say the same thing, coming from a different place as a maker, because he got a lot, people shared a lot of information with him on the process of, making and selling pens and like that. But I think all over all aspects of pen collecting, I think people are very generous with their information.
Yeah, and also very kind, I think, right? Last weekend, I was, or maybe it's not the time yet to talk about it, but I'll just flip the whole agenda. The London Pen Show. So I was at the London Pen Show last weekend, and I also experienced it over there. People are really helpful and generous and kind. They were really grateful that I was there. Although it's not that far, like Amsterdam, London, it's like a 1-hour flight. But still, they were really happy that I was there. And it was really, really fun, of course, to see some friends from the UK as well. Because, well, as I said, London, Amsterdam, or the Netherlands is not that far from each other. So a lot of people come from the UK to the Dutch Pen Show. So we see each other quite often. But yeah, it was a really good vibe, good feeling, to be at the London Pen Show. So everybody that was there, thank you for that.
Was that your first time going?
Yeah, it was the first time for us to be at the London Pen Show. They always have a show at the end of the year, but it has a little bit of a conflict with our store busyness at the end of the year. So October, November, December are really, really busy months for us. So it's quite impossible for us to get away from the store in those months. But now they have the spring show, and I managed to go there. Although, so my wife, her birthday was on Friday, and we wanted to celebrate it on Saturday, and then on Sunday was the show. So it was quite a busy weekend. My little nephew, so the youngest son of my sister, it's also his birthday on Friday, and he celebrated it actually on Sunday. So I was not able to come. So sorry for that, Gabi. If you see this in a couple of years,
Uncle Joost will make it up to you.
No worries. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we had a great time. I had a 2-hour flight delay, so I arrived a little bit late, but luckily we were able to set up quite quickly. And honestly, the show started at 10, and at 1 o'clock, it was the first time that I had the time to look at my phone about what time it was, and before I knew it, the show was over. So it was,
wow.
That's always a good sign of how a show was. Yeah.
Yes.
Does Wancher?
Oh, sorry.
No, please go
no,
ahead.
I said it must have been a blur. Go ahead, Jilliano.
How would you say it compares to, for example, the Dutch Pen Show? Like from your own.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the Dutch Pen Show used to be always a one-day show. And then because we're one of the organizers, it's really stressful for us because we have to do like a lot of things at the same time. This year it will be a 2-day show, so it will be more interesting for people, let's say from the US, to make it like come to the show and make it like a whole trip to the Netherlands. It's the people from Appelboom call it like a destination show if you have it, if you make it a 2-day show. So that's quite interesting. But the London show compared to the Dutch Pen Show, I think at the London show there were more like vintage pens. And at the Dutch Pen Show you have more new items, more stationery. The journaling world is also a little bit more involved in there. So it's similar, but still a little bit different. At least it's worth to go to both of them. So if you're in the neighborhood,
people were very excited you went to 2 days, Joost. So I think that's going to be nice. I hope that it won't be maybe as stressful, maybe a little more stressful in certain ways, but then maybe having 2 days, you might be able to breathe a little bit. I don't know. You'll have to let us know how that goes.
Maybe we're going to experience that, how it will go. Jilliano, is Wancher Pens also joining certain pen shows?
That's a great question. Actually, I will be attending the Manila Pen Show next week. Yeah, it's already
Oh, nice.
next week. So this will be the first time we're attending the Manila Pen Show. But
Mhm.
for 2 consecutive years now, we've actually attended the Detroit Pen Show. And
Okay.
so if everything goes well, I mean, we're hoping to attend again this year. But yeah, I think right now the focus is kind of on the Manila Pen Show, and I'm very excited. Got some really interesting pre-orders already, and yeah, it's just this will be my my first experience with a proper pen show. I've had other shows, but they weren't really focused on pens. So I'm very excited. If you have any advice, I can. I would love to hear it.
Well,
What's
yeah,
your advice, Joost?
there's a lot to talk about pen shows. It's always
Yeah.
it's always you will always bring the wrong pens anyway. So whatever you take with you, there will always be people like, oh, but you didn't brought this pen, or you didn't brought this converter, or this spare part, or this ink, or whatever. There's always at least one person that will ask for an item that you didn't brought to the show, and then you will bring it the next several shows, and nobody's asking for it. So that's you can be prepared for that. But it was quite funny because we did the German Pen Fest last month, so a couple of weeks ago, and we sold completely different pens compared to the London show. So it's also like, yeah,
Yes.
it can be
Every show
anything.
has a different personality.
Yeah, definitely,
Mm.
definitely.
Mm.
And also every year of a certain show can be different. So yeah, just experience it. Bring as many pens as you have, and you will just have fun. Because for example, at the German Pen Fest, we sold a lot of these Puchico pens, like these small pens.
That's
So
great.
cute.
And in London, we brought them all, and we didn't sold a single one. So
Wow.
it's
Wow.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really it's unbelievable. But talking about this Puchico pen, do I pronounce it correctly? Puchico?
Yeah, you're pronouncing it perfectly.
That's so
Yes,
cute.
perfect. What can you tell about this pen? Because it's not the biggest pen, but it's a really funny pen.
Yeah, I actually, so this is something fun, but we're actually releasing a brand new Puchico very soon.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, I can't reveal the name yet or the color, but we will be releasing it hopefully very soon. And but
Because this is a really small pen, right? So
it's
what was the
very
idea behind this really small pen? Because honestly, I don't think that you can write a whole letter with this ink
Without it
capacity.
posted. Oh, with the
well, surprisingly, I've actually personally tested it. You can, but my handwriting looks terrible even with a normal size pen. So you can imagine.
Mhm.
But I think the point. I think before we started the live stream, Lori briefly mentioned it. So on Lori's YouTube channel, she has this video, which is like the best budget fountain pens under $50, was it,
Mhm.
on Amazon. And I think it's important to lower the barrier for entry.
Mhm.
Sometimes I have had some customers, they say, well, I want a Wancher pen, but I can't afford a true Urushi pen. I can't afford a true Ebonite pen, and that's perfectly fine.
Mm.
But then when our founder realized, okay, we might not have as many options for entry level as we might want, we kind of thought, okay, let's try to fix this. So we made the sub brand one by one, and Puchico
Mhm.
was kind of the first one. And the idea of that was to make fountain pens fun for everyone, but especially children.
Mhm.
And so, as our corporate social responsibility, the company actually visits local schools and teaches them about
Okay.
fountain pens. And
That's
Oh,
so,
that's
wonderful.
really good.
yeah, it's pretty fun actually. But Puchico was kind of developed for that purpose because we wanted
Mhm.
the kids to have a pen that fit in their hand and that was cute, And
Mhm.
when we saw that they really liked it, we kind of decided, okay, what if we give other people the opportunity to get their hands on this, and
Yeah.
now it's pretty popular. I mean, now you can actually, if you check on Reddit, if you type Wancher, the most recent post, I think it was last week, someone posted, show me a silly pen, a silly fountain
Mhm.
pen, and the Puchico was one of the was one of the first
And
pens that
and
was
and and
supported.
then there's the big brother. Wait,
Yeah,
first, let me react to the comment of Juicy Louise. Maybe a good size for everyday carrying, jotting down notes when out and about. That's definitely true. You can
yes,
easily
So cute.
put this everywhere. You might it might get lost because it's so tiny, but
Put it in a little pouch.
yeah,
yes,
you can put it everywhere. But there's also the big brother, and this
yeah,
is that's the one that you were talking earlier about. This was just
yes.
recently launched, right?
Oh, very recently, yes.
Yeah.
So the idea about Pochoco is, you can imagine we have had some customers say Puchico is too small, or this is a customer from Thailand actually told us, well, I want to use a Puchico, but I don't want to use the eyedropper filling. I want like
Hmm.
cartridge.
Mhm.
Um, as much as we tried, we just couldn't develop a cartridge small enough for Puchico. So we kind of supersized it a little bit, and we made the big brother the Pochoco. And so this one now has eyedropper capability. So you can choose if you want an eyedropper or cartridge. So it's up
That is
to the
really cute.
yeah. And we still made sure to keep the price relatively low. So I think the Puchico is around $25. That
Hmm.
one, the Pocho Crystal Clear, is around $35, if I'm
Wow.
not
Yeah.
mistaken. So
Oh, it's
And
really
I think it's
affordable.
such
It's
a
a really
unique
nice pen.
pen to be like it really sets you apart. Like if when people look at that and they'll think of your brand, which I think is really fun. And I do think it's really important for brands to think about that first time buyer or children or people who are apprehensive about starting with fountain pens and to have a fun entry level pen also, to make
Hmm.
it fun as well, I think is great too. Because there are some that feel and Pilot is one of my very favorite brands. But like if I think of the Pilot Metropolitan, when I first started, that didn't appeal to me as much. It felt like a little bit like my grandfather's pen. Even though it was a beautiful writer, it wasn't exciting to me. This is actually this is very fun. So I can see where a lot of people can have a good time with
It has
this
it
and
has
then
a
get
really
to know your
typical
brand as
design.
well.
Yeah,
mhm.
it has a really typical design, and I can completely understand that people love this. Eric Garcia has a really good question, and that's something that we're going to
Oh,
jump on right now. Can you elaborate more on the Urushi conversation and why your true Urushi is more accessible than perhaps other companies that goes up to $2,000? So I have here a true Urushi Dream Pen, which is really nicely done. It's really well made, but indeed it is pretty affordable, especially if you
yes.
compare it to other brands who also offer Urushi. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It was actually a great question, and I typically get these kinds of questions about once a month. So thank you, Eric Garcia, for this question. Well, the simplest answer is some companies. So let's just let me choose a random company. I think we all know Namiki, right? So they have some Urushi offerings which
Hmm.
are quite a bit more expensive. Um, so I can't speak for their reasoning, but as far as I know, the Urushi artisans are in-house. So essentially, they're exclusive to Namiki. On the other hand, for Wancher, we make this very public, and we have a YouTube video documentary about this. We hire Craftsman Studio in Wajima. So Wajima is kind of the capital of Urushi in Japan, and
Hmm.
so we have one of the oldest Urushi craft houses, Tai Shikiten, who it graciously helps us create these fountain pens for everyone. And so this is something that we kind of again earlier, lowering the barrier for entry. Of course, we couldn't lower too much because Urushi itself is a difficult handcrafted art, right? But then we didn't want to just arbitrarily have such high prices that people couldn't even think about trying it. Because I'm sure we all have experienced this, where we thought, okay, I kind of want to try out this new fountain pen, or this, for example, new nib. I don't know if a lot of people would be willing to try out something that they're unsure about if it was, let's say, $1,000, right? So I think that was kind of our rationale when we created it. But of course, actually, Dream Pen itself was, we funded that through a Kickstarter. So that's part of the reason why we were able to release it at such, in my opinion, good pricing.
Yeah,
so thank you for that.
Talking about Kickstarter, it's a nice jump to your Kickstarter right now. Kickstarter is live. The Wancher Kyoto Celluloid Dream Pen Celluloid Kickstarter. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? I will share the link, by the way, in the comments.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, so the Dream Pen Celluloid Kickstarter basically was inspired by the fact that a lot of people might know this already, but Wancher, we have a subsidiary on eBay called Engeka. And so eBay is, through eBay, we actually sell vintage fountain pens. So that's, we're quite proud of that. And we have had the privilege of selling vintage celluloid fountain pens. And basically, over the years of having these vintage celluloid fountain pens, we kind of began to have this greater and greater appreciation for celluloid fountain pens, right? And so after a while, our founder, Taizo Kagaki, he eventually contacted Kyoto Celluloid, which is one of the oldest and most distinguished celluloid manufacturers in Japan. And we decided to create this new pen, this collaboration. Essentially, the celluloid fountain pen has the shape of our Dream Pen, but then it is made using celluloid. And so again, similar to True Urushi, our goal here was to make it accessible. Some celluloid fountain pens, of course, I'm not going to name the specific ones, but some of them, in my humble opinion, are a little bit too expensive for someone who simply wants to try out celluloid fountain pens. And so we wanted to make it more accessible, and that's why we created this Kickstarter. And
it's only live for like half an hour, right? So if people want to jump on it, they have to be quickly.
Yes, actually, so we were able to fund the entire Kickstarter already in 34 minutes. Of course, you can still support it, which would be great. But yes, it's actually, it was a lot of hard work, but it was worth it, in my opinion. But yeah, it's very special. I think what makes it very special is actually the roll-up method. So when the average person, like if you've seen a fountain pen, a celluloid fountain pen, most likely it's made in Europe, and the European method uses a block method. So basically, you take a block of celluloid and then you carve out the shape of the fountain pen from that block. And then, whereas the Japanese method is the roll-up method, that's how it's translated to. And essentially, you take a sheet of celluloid and then you roll it into the shape of the fountain pen. And so it's a very unique style. And as far as I know, there are only two craft houses who can use that method properly to this day. So yeah, it's very special for us.
And William is loving celluloid, so William, you have to jump on that Kickstarter right now before it's too late.
Thank you so much, William.
Jilliano, We had this discussion a little bit before the show started.
Yes.
What is really special with Wancher is that they do not only produce their pens in Japan, and they're quite open
Mhm.
about that. They have a lot of collaborations in different countries. Can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit more about that? Because there was a little bit of a controversy a few years ago about Wancher, but yeah, because it's so open, it's like yeah, it's
Yes.
it's 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 not a secret or something.
Yes. Actually, going back to Eric's question earlier, which is how can we offer True Urushi at these prices? As I said, we make it very public. Like True Urushi is made in Wajima. However, as part of our we call it the Wancher Voyage program, where we collaborate with other countries and their traditional arts. So
Mhm.
most recently, I'm very proud of this project because it was kind of my pet project. So we created new Thai fountain pens. So that in Thailand, and we used Thai Urushi. So the Urushi for it was done completely in Thailand, and again, I'm going to be biased because it's my pet project, but I thought it ended up looking fantastic. I think most of it is sold out, unfortunately, because they were very limited in quantity. But
Mhm.
before that, I think our most famous example would be the Son Mai. So that one is
Mhm.
Urushi from Vietnam, and also really beautiful, really impressive. Unfortunately, also limited in quantity, and so we, for us at least, I think you can see it on our mission. Our mission has always been to raise awareness about traditional arts. Of course, we have a greater focus on Japanese traditional arts because we have the benefit and privilege of being in Japan, right? But
Mhm.
then when we have the opportunity to collaborate with artists from Thailand, for example, her name is Osharaporn Klamkluan in Thailand or Pham Chin Trung in Vietnam, we have to jump at that opportunity. We have to really take
Yes, of
advantage.
course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eric has a really good question here because he was wondering, and I was wondering that too. Like, what is the differences of urushi between countries?
That's a fantastic question. Actually, I believe it or not, I've had to answer this question several times just recently. So we were actually in Thailand just recently for an art exhibition, explaining the difference between Japanese urushi and Thai urushi. Essentially, this is what makes Japanese urushi so special, and also Chinese urushi. They have some similarities. Um, Japanese urushi is very thin, so the average
Mhm.
urushi item that you can see, for example, the true urushi that Joost showed. Oh, that's a different one, but yes, that's also applies. The average one actually has maybe 100 or even more layers of urushi, and it's hardly noticeable. On the other hand, if you take, for example, an urushi item from Thailand, you will find that it only has a maximum of 8 layers. The reason why is because their urushi is quite a bit thicker and more coarse than Japanese urushi. And so instead of when we had the idea of exploring Thailand, instead of thinking, okay, that means we shouldn't make urushi items from Thailand, we were just thinking, how do we maximize that? Like, how do we use it to our
Mhm.
advantage? And so we created the Namjai Urushi pens, which are very interesting. They use a technique called Lairot Nam. Um, and so essentially, what the artist did, I'm terribly sorry I don't have the example here. What the artist did was they took the pen um, and then coated it with the Thai Urushi. Afterwards, they applied gold leaf around the
Mhm.
entire pen, or like gold foil around it,
Oh,
and then using a chisel, literally chiseled off the uh, unnecessary gold foil until it formed a unique pattern and design, and then
Mhm.
scraped off even more of the thick Thai urushi. And so it, however, to be honest, if I didn't see it myself with my own eyes, I probably wouldn't have believed it, because it is incredibly smooth considering that was the process.
Wow.
And so that's one of the unique characteristics.
Eric has another really good question on this.
This is fascinating,
Eric,
by the way, Jilliano.
yes.
I'm
Eric,
enjoying this
you're
so
really
much.
not asking too much. Please keep asking, because
Please keep asking.
the questions that Eric is asking, I have the same questions all the time in my head. Like, okay,
Yes.
you're talking about different kind of Urushis, Japanese, Chinese, Thai Urushis, but how can identify a customer which pen is made from which Urushi?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, so I do have to say, and this is so Japanese Urushi comes from an Urushi tree. So the tree is literally called Urushi. And that is actually the same species of tree found in China. The species, however, is different in Thailand. So when it comes to differentiating a Japanese Urushi item or a Chinese Urushi item, the difference actually is more dependent on the craftsman. And so if I'm, hold on, I'm going to find a good example for you. And then I can send it to Joost, and then he can send it in the chat later if that's okay. So
this is going to be such a great video to come back to. I feel like I'm taking notes, but I'm learning so much. No, honestly, this is going to be a fantastic reference video. I haven't heard this explained ever. This is wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, so for example, our true Urushi pens are made in Wajima. On the other hand,
so the dream pen, true Urushi pens, they're all made with Japanese Urushi, right?
Exactly, right. And then on the other hand, if you look at this is also another Wancher Voyage project. So I'm gonna send it in our chat right now. Our Saihi Urushi uses techniques from Fuzhou artisans. So Fuzhou is a place in China, and so they use a method called the Saihi Nuri. And so if you compare this, for example, to our true Urushi, there's this very significant like design difference, right? And so it really comes down to the artisan's style, right? However, typically Japanese Urushi artisans go for a more almost minimalist look or a classic look. And so, of course, there are exceptions. You can find, for example, if you look at our Hirota Urushi fountain pens, those are incredibly complicated, and they're made by Hirota Sensei, who is like a genius, and her technique is just incredible. But then when it comes to, if you want to be able to identify it like just by looking at it once, I'm sorry to say, like, it's very difficult to get to that point. Even I struggle. But in general, for example, if you are curious about any of our fountain pens, like, oh, where was it made? Like, who is the artisan who made it? If it isn't explicitly stated on the product page, then you can just email us, or you can comment on any of our social media accounts publicly, or you can contact us on Discord. Like, we have so many ways to contact us, and again,
so many ways to get in touch.
You can even comment. You can even post on Reddit, and then I have a Wancher Reddit account, and I will answer anywhere, everywhere.
That's good. No, I think the questions that Eric has, a lot of people, or at least I had it as well. So it's quite interesting, to find the differences between the 2,000 euros or dollar pens and the $500 pens. So it's definitely interesting. But we're already like 45 minutes in the show, and I always try to keep it under an hour. So now I have to talk really quickly, because we also have some new pens that recently arrived in the store. So let me talk quickly about them.
New products.
The first one that arrived in store actually today, it is the Kaweco Collection Sport Honey. And please, Eric, don't say sorry. I truly appreciate your question. So I rather love to talk longer about that, then that's fine. Let's go back. the collection sport of Kaweco, the honey. I already shared a couple of pictures of them a few weeks ago on Instagram, but now we have it here. We can ship it out. We have it in stock. It ships directly. Beautiful little pen, beautiful new little color. I really like this color, so go grab it. Another pen that was recently launched 2 weeks ago and is actually quite in line with the guest for next week's show is are these 3 new pens. Sorry. And those are made by Leonardo. It's the Momento Zero Grande 2.0, and it's called the Power of Flower, and it comes in 3 different colors. The first one is the Dahlia Eveline. Then we have the Sakura, that's the pink one, and we have the Fiordaliso blue. And all 3 materials, they are all made. Sorry, acronym here. All 3 materials are made by the one and only resin acrylic wizard Jonathan Brooks. So thank you for that, Jonathan. You did another amazing job. And it's it's really special. What makes this pen even more special is that the number 8 size nib on the pen. I don't know if the camera captures it. Otherwise, I will add some close-ups. It has a flower engraving on the.
Beautiful.
How do I do this?
Joost, is that an Ebonite feed or plastic feed on that? And I love that.
No, it's an Ebonite feed. It's an Ebonite feed. Can you see the flower design?
Yes. Wait, I need the old lady glasses. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Great engraving.
So pretty.
Yeah. So there's a beautiful flower design. It has the Ebonite feed on it. It's a piston filling mechanism, and the material is just stunning. Salva, he shipped me these pens for the London Pen Show to show to people, and everybody was really enthusiastic. They will be delivered to the stores later this month. So please make sure to order yours because these pens, they will sell out. You know, if there's a combination with Leonardo and Jonathan Brooks, most of the time it's a success. So yeah, if you like it, don't hesitate and just order them because they look great indeed. Hearts failing.
They do.
And Jamie Loom is also saying it's beautiful. All right. Sorry, I had to rush this part a little bit. But Lori, do you have a final question for Jilliano before we're ending the show?
I just want to say that I didn't really know a lot about Wancher. It's been one of these companies that I've looked at from a distance, and there have been a couple pens that I've been interested in. And you've just done an incredible job of representing your company, and I love their outreach. And, you know, the fact that you're going into schools, the fact that you're working with other countries to bring this beautiful art to our community. I actually have 2 questions. One, just as a quick one, would you say that True Urushi, the Dream Pen, is that like your signature pen? Like if I were to invest and get something from Wancher, would that be like the signature thing to get from your company? Or what would you recommend?
Me personally, what I always like to check is first, what does the customer normally like? I always ask them, what kind of pens do you like? What do you write with? And then based on that, I will say that True Urushi is our heart and soul. We actually, Wajima actually experienced an earthquake last year. And so we did our best to kind of support the community there, the Urushi artisans there, because it completely destroyed their studios. And they're still in the process of rebuilding even now. And so I will definitely say that True Urushi is worth the investment. It's worth the time. But at the end of the day, I think what matters most is what you would most enjoy. So whether that's the matcha fountain pen or the Puchico or the True Urushi, it's all, as long as you're continuing to have joy with the fountain pen hobby, that's all that matters.
It's a great answer. I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, I love that answer.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm also curious what brought you to the company And maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about your role in the many hats that you wear.
Of course. Well, so I came into the company actually straight after grad school, and so I was very fortunate to find a company. I might be one of the few people who didn't want to move to Tokyo, and I wanted to see if there are opportunities here in the small town life in Japan, and I was able to find a company like Wancher. As per my role, I am kind of diversified, but mainly I work as a marketing specialist. But some of our customers, if you ask them, then they'll quote me as Jilliano from Wancher. That's kind of how I always introduce myself. Even my Reddit name is Jilliano Wancher. And so I think I do a lot of the customer service for Wancher Pen and then also Wancher Watch. I'm a huge fan of watches too. In addition to that, I am in charge of our Amazon sales, but specifically Japan. We're focusing mostly on Japan for Amazon at the moment. And then more recently, I've been trying to help out with product development. And so at the company, we kind of all help each other. So I also do a lot of the videos. And actually, if you most of our announcement videos about our Kickstarter or most of our comedic videos, I'm the one who is in front of the camera because
You're the face behind YouTube.
Mostly I'm the one that doesn't mind looking foolish. So I don't mind. And so yeah, I do a lot of different roles, but I think we all kind of do a lot of different roles when we're in the process. It's just about each person figuring out how they can best contribute to the success of the company, really.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
I think that you're doing a great job. So
yeah.
Thank you for that, Jilliano. Jilliano, next week we will be having a new guest on our show, and you can come up with a question for our next guest. Sorry, by the way, for the sun, but we finally have some sun here in the Netherlands, so I try to enjoy
You have to take it in when you can get it, Joost.
Yeah. But Jilliano, do you have a question for our next guest for next week's show?
Well, I would say, okay, so if your next guest is also a fountain pen brand or a retailer, I think this should apply. I would like to ask, what has been the most rewarding experience of working within this industry?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that next episode, so I probably won't join the live stream because it's gonna be quite late.
Yeah.
But I can watch the video afterwards on YouTube and then find out the answer.
Fun.
Community.
Thank you for joining us so late.
Yes, Jilliano, thank you so much for joining us so late. It's right now, it's the middle of the night for you. It's 1 a.m. So we're going to take this short. Lucky Pen has a question here. Joost, will we see you again an episode every week? So yes, that's the whole idea, that we will be back again every week. So next week we will have Salva from Leonardo Pens here on the show to talk about the Leonardo Pens, and we're going to have a lot of fun with him. He's been a couple of times here on the show, so we know what we can expect, and yeah, we will be back at least if we don't get hacked again. So that's the only side note that I have to make. Please, people, don't hack the Appelboom account. We are just an innocent pen account, and we don't sell Bitcoins or whatsoever. Well, maybe an Appelboom coin in the future, but for now we're okay. We are not we are not into that. Although you can pay with crypto on the Appelboom website. So if you have crypto, we definitely recommend to go to the Appelboom website and buy some pens over there. All right, Jilliano, again, Thank you so much for joining us so late. It was really helpful. We learned a lot. It was a very, very, very helpful episode.
So informative. Thank you, Jilliano.
Yeah, very, very much. So thank you for that. Lori, thank you again for being our co-host here.
It was great to be here.
Hopefully I see you again next week with Salva and with Leonardo. Everybody that was joining, thank you so much, and we see you back again.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye-bye.